Hello and welcome to the Make It Epic Wedding podcast. You're joined here with Tim and Matt. Mate, how are you? Good to see you. It's been a while. It's been a long time. Good to see your lovely face.
G'day, mate. How are you? I'm doing good. And what's happening on your end? We've been hanging out a fair bit lately. So what's been going on, mate? I haven't seen you probably for a week, and it's been weird.
It's a bit like that. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Like we've had quite a few weddings together this year. You know, we kicked off the new year on what was it, the 3rd of January together. And we've probably had about 3 or 4 weddings since then together. And it's like end of January, which is pretty cool. We've had some epic elopements. Like what a month it's been to kick off the year.
That's it. We've done a few different things, like a few different style weddings too. We've done like a bit of a high-end one. We've done like, a Sydney CBD one. We've done an elopement in Sydney CBD and then also an elopement on the coast, which far out. Now I think about it and actually saying them out loud, like that's a massive range of epic goodness that we've been doing. And I know, super excited to get it all out and into the world.
I know, right? Like there is some lovely content coming for you guys out there. Like I cannot wait. And it's so good just to have like some variety as well, like in different areas and like in different stages. And I don't know, like I know like for us, right? Like every wedding like is different and it's good to just have like a bit of variety and like build in that story. Like I know from like a video perspective, it's just they're so like each of these weddings have been like so different. So it's really good to just have like such a good variety in different locations. You know, like you said, we've just been all over New South Wales pretty much, which is pretty cool.
It's epic, isn't it? Keeps it interesting for us too when we're sitting back editing it all up and making sure we're getting the content we want to get. So it's it's been an awesome start to the year, and like I've been, pretty flat chat, shooting 2 weddings a week pretty much every week, and it's exciting times and been loving it, mate. So yeah, it's been good, and I'm keen
I can see there's some lights in the background, some upgrading the setup, which is pretty cool.
Trying to change it up in the world. Got to do some work to the old office, but we'll get there. Maybe mid-year this year, we're going to give the office a bit of a revamp. It's probably the last room in the house that I haven't touched. I'm like, I'll get to it one day, but maybe this year when I have a couple of weeks off in the middle of the year, we might get onto that. We'll see how we go.
Yeah,
but mate,
I've put a fair bit of effort into mine. I've got a bit.
Yeah, you've been smashing it lately. Oh no, look at you go! You got a fancy backdrop. You got like a little like side profile backdrop going on as well. I've seen it.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, mate, it's been epic lately, hasn't it? With all the I feel like we've been getting like slammed with some, as we've been saying the last few weeks, like it's engagement season. And, I feel like lately everyone's like, we've been reaping the rewards a little bit from this podcast, haven't we, mate? We've been getting some, I don't know about you, but I've been getting a lot of inquiries, people being like, oh, we listen to your podcast and like we're loving what we hear, which I don't know about you, but it makes us spending, a couple of hours a week working on this thing definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's like obviously like the fruits of our labor come into fruition, like couples are getting value, and like I'm actually getting a lot of feedback from vendors as well. So maybe that's another thing, like we can keep doing some episodes on like especially going through like creative business, and maybe offering some like advice on how we got to where we are. But it has been really good, and I've heard like firsthand, like when we've been at weddings, like with you and like without you, like couples have like listened to the podcast and they've just found like tips, tricks, and values in it that have helped them like in their wedding process. So I don't know, and that's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. So
absolutely, I love it when people are getting stuff out of our gibberish that we talk at times. Like I feel like we have a plan sometimes, and sometimes we don't. And we just jump on and we have a bit of a chat. But I guess ultimately for us, like we want to make sure that you guys are getting good value out of this, and making sure that when it comes to your wedding, you're making it as epic as possible. You're making it just the way you want it to be. And there's definitely been people that have been reaching out because they're liking what we're preaching, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited as well. Like for what we have coming up in the future, we've got some epic vendors lined up for you guys to,
like for a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a chat with one of the future vendors that is coming on in the next couple of weeks, this afternoon. And we had a quick chat just about, what we want to talk about, some of the hot topics. And it's been awesome. And I'm super excited. Just it gets me real amped for the content we're going to be bringing out for you guys. That's really going to elevate your wedding, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think if you're a couple getting engaged, like, I feel like it's a very hectic engagement season. Like, I personally have never had so much inquiries come through. And it was like the 1st of January. As soon as that hit, it's been an absolute crazy amount. I don't know about you, man, but like on emails, I try and have like an hour, like at some stage in the day to kind of get to them all, but like I can't get through all my emails in an hour anymore.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? And even like this afternoon, I had a shoot this afternoon I did with a couple. I came home and like when I came home, I had like 4 inquiries today. And like, unfortunately, all 4 of them I'm already booked and they're all for next year, which is even crazier, like for 2024. But I actually saw a thread today on like a local photographer, videographer page. People were talking about how like busy they are this year in terms of like bookings and stuff like that. And mate, a lot of people were like already at capacity. Like they were pretty much like, oh yeah, like I'm at, 50 bookings, 60 bookings, 30 bookings. Everyone has a different capacity. 100%. Yeah. Everyone has different capacities. And some of those people were already like, yeah, after last year, I'm already at my capacity, which is crazy. And it's awesome.
It's a credit to the value of that vendor as well. Like the last couple of years have not been easy for for the wedding industry as a whole. But I really feel that like those vendors that have really like stuck it out and really have like put a lot of effort like into providing a good client experience, like making sure that their deliverables, the value that they offer to the client is at a high standard. Like those guys are reaping the benefits. Like, and they're the guys and girls that are, at the moment that are saying, you know what, I'm like fairly booked out for 2023.
100%. It's epic. I think it's amazing. And I think it's good that, like as a vendor, if you're listening, there's definitely a point where you need to put your foot down and go, hey, I'm going to just be happy with what I've got. And I'm not going to try and take on a bazillion weddings and kill myself and burn myself out. Like I'm definitely at that point. I think
who needs to take that advice?
Yeah, me, mate. Come on. I know that. Like 100%. But you know what? I'm probably like, I was thinking about it today. I reckon I'm 4 bookings away from closing my books for this year, which, is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. I probably could close them now, but for some reason, I really like these like numbers of like 0s and 5s. So like, I don't want to do this like in between like 1, 2, 3, 4s. It has to be like on the number or a 5. Don't ask me why. It's just in my head. So anyway, so that's where we're at. So because I have a 1 at the moment, I would like 4 more for 2023, and that's it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, mate, let's roll on to today's subject, title, heading. I don't know what the word is. What's the word am I trying to I don't know. Topic. That's the word. Love it.
English with Tim and Matt.
Look, I actually, talking about English, I worked out today that I have like some absolutely major spelling mistakes in my initial email. Like I reread it today and I was like, oh my goodness. Like one of them was like, attached is my of my price guide.
I read any like email segments, any like marketing, like anything that I put on, like I read it so many times, or I give it to my wife to proofread. But it's pretty funny. We actually have a photographer friend who, let's just say she likes to make sure that the grammar is on point. So maybe a shout out to Lucy. She's always on the ball if we have a post out there and there's a spelling mistake. She's caught me out a couple of times.
It's really frustrating, to be honest, because I hate spelling and I just can't do that stuff. So, look, she's definitely at the bottom of my friend list right now.
We're only joking.
Wow, classic. Classic.
Yeah.
All right, back on subject, back on topic.
Back onto the topic, yeah. So what are we talking about today, mate?
Today, we are talking about, like, we've done a lot of stuff talking about, like, obviously in the last few episodes about, like, planning and, like, all that goodness. And so we thought maybe we'd bring it back to, like, a little bit something different and just not super different, but slightly different in a sense of, like, if you are someone getting married in the next couple of months, like, the countdown is on. So we're talking about, like, 3 months to go to your wedding. What should you be doing?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Like from like my perspective, like I have a workflow, I have a process. So like I like the couples to be at a certain stage, and 3 months is really when like I send out a run sheet, like questionnaire that really like probes like the couple to really like answer like a lot of questions about, the timings of the day. Like, have they thought about like the unique events like that's happening, like specific to their wedding? If so, what is it? There's some like video focused questions as well. So like a lot of the video type questions that I want to know about the couple and learning about them and their story, like is usually the booking process. But 3 months out, like I prefer a couple to make sure that they actually have a plan and they know exactly what's happening. So, there's no like rushing in like to, the finish line that is your wedding and you're stressing out because things aren't done.
100%. We're at the nitty gritty kind of like, or I guess we're starting to get to the nitty gritty point at 3 months out. Like for me personally, I probably don't contact my couples that much until about 3 months out. That's kind of the first email. And I would say 90 to 95% of vendors are probably in the same boat where it's potentially an automated email that gets sent to you. It has like a booking form attached, and that's kind of like the bulk of the information we need from you guys. It's probably coming out to you around that, 3 months prior. It's definitely starts to get a bit real 3 months prior. And if you haven't thought about your timeline by then, well, you're in trouble. And we probably will have someone on very soon that probably can help you with that.
Amazing. Because what do you like? What are the type of questions that like you want answered? Because I send out the questionnaire, but really I expect kind of it back within a week or two. Like if I don't get it back like 2 months out, I send like another email and be like, hey, like just like checking in. Like once that's finished, like let's book in a call. And I really want to have that call like in between the 4 to 8 week mark.
Yeah, I'm probably the same as well. And I guess in terms of the questions that I'm asking, it's all around that kind of the run sheet of the day. Look, I don't expect it to be perfect, when you send it to me, but at least having a bit of an idea with some of the key moments that you think you would have, I guess throughout the day. Like obviously they need to be kind of like semi-organized and things like that. I also ask questions about what kind of what are you most excited about on the day? What are the things you're planning that, I may not know that may not be typically traditional or typically I would see every single week? Is there anything different you're doing?
That's cool.
Are you little things even that we do week in and week out, or maybe not week in and week out, but fairly regularly is things like, do you have confetti, when you're walking back down the aisle? Are you doing a sparkler exit or anything kind of exit at the end of the night? For me personally, do you want to do any nighttime photos? I ask questions around family photos. That's probably a topic in itself, but I will prompt you and I'll push you towards helping you get the best and the most out of your family photo time slot, because that is a hectic time of day. And that's probably something really different to what you would ask.
Yeah. So do you ask couples to send a photo list for family photos, for instance? And when do you send that out, and when do you expect that list back?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely say so. It's probably the only list I'll ever ask from you, if that makes sense. And I always say to couples, it's not necessarily a list for me. I'm not going to sit there and read the list of names, and suss out everything that's happening. I'm more going to get the list, put it in your client folder, and on the day, hopefully you've delegated someone to help us. And if they haven't got the list, I can give you a copy of it. So kind of in that sense, family photos are probably the worst part of the day.
Right? Sorry. 100%. Because from a video perspective, this is usually, because I typically shoot solo, this is usually when I'm packing stuff up and I'm running up to the reception. But that's kind of a time where it can take 10 minutes or it can take 45 minutes. It's been 100% crazy. And that's why even during, during my consults, I always ask couples okay, cool. Have you spoken to the photographer? Are you doing family photos? Or a VIP photo list? If so, do you have a list, and do you have a family member who knows those members that can really call them out? Just because it can take some time and it can eat into portraits.
100% it can. And I think it's one of those things, for me personally, I would say if you can get as many of your family photos done as possible during that post-ceremony kind of time slot, the more you can get done there, the more enjoyable your reception will be. And the less I, as a photographer, will have to be following you around to try and get some of those photos with people you have missed. And when it comes to photos and that family photo time slot, the list is important because if you just like close your eyes for a minute and imagine this, you're like done your whole day, your like ceremony has happened, you've walked down the aisle, everyone's throwing confetti at you and it's been amazing and you're all on a high. And then I let you say hello, like you kind of, not I let you, but you say hello to people for a small amount of time after the ceremony. And then I come up to you and I tap you on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, Lauren, you ready for some family photos? Let's smash these out. And you look at me and you're like, holy moly. Like, who is my family? Who am I related to? You know, like, because it almost gets to that point where you have a little bit of a mind blank. And I promise you, if you don't write a list for your family photos, you will miss somebody. Like, you know, nobody needs to like be upset, and feel left out at the end of the day. So like, I always say to people, when you're writing your family photo list, look at your guest list. And maybe it's not family, but maybe it's important people, right? So we should really change the name from family photos to important people. And I'm like, if you look at that list and you're like, auntie, blah, 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 and uncle, blah, blah, blah on it, awesome, happy, we want a photo with them. But then it might get down the list a bit further and you might have like a group of school friends. You might have a group of work friends. You might have like a sporting club crew. Who knows what it is, right? And you're like, that's really important to me to get a photo with them. They probably need to be on the list. And it may not be at the top of the list. It may be like, you know, a secondary list or something like that, but you need to do something there.
So maybe then, like, if a large like family or VIP list photo list is important for you, like, just account for that like during the timeline. So maybe you might have to push like the ceremony back just that little bit, just so there's enough time. Because if you know that VIP/family photo list is probably going to take a while, and you don't want it to eat into like your portrait time, like this, I think this is where we're saying, like, just like be mindful of what you want and plan for it accordingly.
100%. And remember that all of this stuff takes time. So if you have 30 photos, right, let's just say, for instance, you can't do 30 photos in 15 minutes. It's not physically possible, because when you think about the numbers and the time, you can't put like 20 people into a photo in 30 seconds, take the photo and get them out. Like, it's just not possible.
It's always like every wedding, and you're waiting there. Like, I see it from afar, like, and you're just waiting, like, okay, like, we're just waiting for this person to come into the photo, and like, it's like 5 minutes, like, come on, like, Dad.
I start singing. I sing a song. I have a song that I've come up with. It's like, if you're related and you know it, get in the photo. If you're related and you know it, get in the photo. It's like, it's because I get so bored, because like, realistically, if you are related, you know you probably should be in some of these photos. And like, at the end of the day, they're like, the whole like black of the family, get in. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we're waiting for Tim still, and it's going to take 4 more hours because Tim's slow, you know, or whatever it is. So like,
no more portraits.
It's one of those things where, you know, like, I think a lot of people want to get back to their party. They want to get back and hang out with their friends and go to canapes and have a drink. Like, so if we can speed up that process, writing that family photo list is really important. Yeah. I have this conversation literally every single day with couples, because I think that family photos are important. I think they are amazing. I think that you need to have some sort of family photo, whether it's large or small. But I think you need to write a list. And I'm also going to put a little side note to this. Be kind to your parents, maybe, and think about asking them who they would like to have you have a photo with. But do you know what I mean? Like, I think we forget, like, our parents are maybe financially helping us, maybe just like supporting us. And I think sometimes it's like really easy for us to not include them in like the wedding process and the wedding planning process. So, you know, sometimes it's as simple as asking them a question.
I love it.
Asking them
I
who
tend to
they
find
want.
I usually have a bit of a chat with, you know, the mums, the dads and the uncles, like during this time while I watch the photographer get their stuff. I get a bit of stuff, but typically it doesn't end up in the film because it's so like staged, so like stiff.
Yeah, it's probably the only time I ever want you to stand there smiling directly down my camera with multiple people.
I get some BTS of you. Yeah.
Yeah, you always do. You always get the worst BTS of me. Usually when like I've been waiting 40 minutes for like one person and I've got the shit.
Lovely. All right, well, there you go. All right, family list. We know it's important. So look, if you are listening and 3 months out before your wedding, like, yes, if you haven't thought about it, it is time to think about it. You know, maybe you've already set your time for your ceremony, so possibly it might be able to change, but just have a think about that family/VIP list and what that may look like.
100%.
All right, man. So I suppose like 3 months out, like, yes, like we want timelines kind of sorted. Like I like to see times from like reception, like definitely the ceremony, so we can start to plan out like a bit of sunset. And this is when we get into like, I suppose, like the details of our start times and our finish times as well. And the things that are like of value, like, is it more important to get more prep, or is it important to stay a little bit later? Like for me, most couples would, I think, want more of the prep. Like they definitely want some of the dancing covered, but typically, like, I don't stay till the end of every wedding very often these days.
No, I wouldn't either. Like I would say typically we're staying, you know, maybe 30 to 40 minutes into the dance floor, maybe a little sneaky fake exit if we need to, or that's something that's important to them. But yeah, like I would say typically like we're kind of getting a lot more of a well-rounded picture of the day. So we're still getting a bit of everything, but you're not smashing out extra dollars at the end of the day for us to stay till, you know, the end of the dance floor when everyone's a bit messy. I think, you know, I do like where we're at.
What I'm really loving is like couples that are just going like against the cuff, you know, like a fake exit. Like, I suppose like having an exit and like if you wanted to stay back and capture the exit, like we're staying another 2 something hours. Like it's just not, you're paying an extra 2 hours. It's not really feasible. Having a fake exit, like, yeah, like it's pretty cool. But like I know like lately what we have is like what we've been doing is maybe just getting the couples out with just mum and dad, like close family, like close friends, you know,
maybe
like
bridal party.
Yeah, getting the sparklers out as a circle, just having a bit of a dance, like having a bit of a boogie, having a bit of fun outside, and just kind of like bring a bit of like, you know, of the dance party vibes outside rather than like a fake farewell. And like, it's just these little things that, you know, it's just adding something different into the day.
Yeah, it's also saving you money too. I would say it's like money wise, like if we're talking budget, like if you are like thinking that you're wanting photographer, videographer, you know, at a minimum to stay to the end of the night, like that's a lot of extra dollars you have to potentially come up with because like, you know, that's a long time of us probably not doing a whole lot where you might be able to do a fake exit a little bit earlier. Yes, it's not ideal in a perfect, you know, fairy tale world, I guess, so to speak. But you're still getting the shot that you want and you're saving yourself some dollars. So if budgets are concerned, it's definitely an option to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Cool. I also think like, you know, coming up to like that 3-month out stage, like this is where these conversations definitely are starting to happen. So whether it is like, you know, a fake exit, whether it is like confetti, you know, and asking your florist or, you know, your stylist to help you, like, you know, round up confetti or, you know, flower petals or whatever that is. Any of those things, like they're things that are really you're having to start thinking about, I guess, 3 months out. I'm sure as well, there's a lot of consultations that you'll be having with, you know, your vendors, and everybody will be potentially hounding you. I know from like me and Tim, like we try and only reach out like as we need things from you guys, which is typically like 3 months out, 2 months out, and usually like a month before your wedding. And then I have one, Tim's probably the same, but we both have probably one final email like a week before. It's been like, hey, what's up? Don't forget you're getting married next week, you know, making sure nothing's changed. So like we try and keep it fairly simple, but you know, I say to people, if you reply to all the emails that you get from your vendors, like you're not going to be missed. You're not going to be left out in the crowd. Yeah. What's, I guess from taking a couple of steps back, I was just thinking about it then actually with a 3-month, 2-month wedding, pre-wedding email. I know you asked like some specific like questions around like video and the like feel of the video and like stuff like that. What are you looking for specifically then?
So there's a couple of things. So when I send out that like, that questionnaire, like 3 monthly, it is a run sheet questionnaire, but there's also some other questions attached to it. So I'm asking questions about, you know, like what are their favorite artists? Like what's their favorite genre? And it's not just for the video. It's actually for me to get like an understanding. So like during like the wedding day, you know, I've got my little speaker. And you know, I like to play like some tunes, like get them in the mood, get them in the vibe, and like just make sure like I create a bit of a playlist specifically for them. So, and I'll have a range. So like when it's like, we want to have a bit of fun, like something upbeat, something with some party vibes. And then when it's, you know, like when it's just the couple themselves, I've got like a little bit of like more intimate, some more romantic music. And it just kind of sets like, for me, it just helps the couple like ease into the session a bit more, allows us to connect a bit more, have a little bit more fun. You know, like I'm all about just making sure that even before the wedding day, like couples know that I'm coming for them. Like they know I'm there for them. Like I've built this reputation. Like I've gone on this journey since when they've booked me like to the wedding day. So I'm not just rocking up as a random person. And that's really important for me to, you know, like that process is super important, but it's also like understanding like the like intimate details as well. So like for me, that 3-monthly questionnaire, like it's such a pain when couples don't fill it out. Like I hate having to like follow it up like 2 weeks later, like a month later. Like it's, yeah, it kind of sucks because like there really is some special moments in there like that allows me to like really bump up that client experience for them.
100%. And I think like for video, it's probably even more important, right? Like, because for photography, like, like it's a still image, you know, and we can, like, I still obviously help create the vibes and I do all that, but because video is like storytelling, there's moving parts to it. You know, it's really important to find out if you're, you know, like what kind of vibe you're into, you know, because every video is different. And, you know, for photos, like every job that I do is different too. You know, every wedding I go to is different. But for me, I can stop that moment where, for video, you're continuously rolling, so therefore, like everything counts.
And that's the thing, right? Like with video, like it's moving frames, like you're seeing, you're hearing, and like it's actually it's quite easy to see when things are awkward, right? And like this is why I like fluid, like motion, like I like reactions, like I like to like bait couples and have fun with them, like in a way, it's bad to say, but like working with like photographers that have like a very stiff or a very pose style, like, and look, I'll be upfront, like it has ruined the vibe in some films, and it's very difficult to maintain a very like natural and like unjittery feel when like a photographer like or someone is directing, and it's like, oh, just do this pose, okay, all right, stop there. All right. And then do this pose. Or go over there and kiss.
It's just broken up.
Hold that kiss.
It's broken up, and it's just not what you guys are, I would say, like week in and week out. And, you know, the reason why you are who you are and like where you are today, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
Look,
and that's right. Like obviously I have that style. I'm known for that style. That's why couples book me. Like it's a little bit different. And you know, I want to keep adding on that. I suppose, yeah, like one of the other like big questions is like all about the details as well. So the question is really like you've put a lot of effort into like your wedding, into the details. Like what are the things that like you want to be like or have a focus of, and like what are the things that are important to you that may not necessarily be known or of value to like everyone else. So like it could be like an inanimate object, it could be a person, like it could be grandma, like, and just a relationship you have. And, like they're the things that like I want to know as well. And you know, I like melt these into my brain. So like on the day, like I make sure like I have all of this information that's like, and I understand it all. I'm not just rocking up like, oh yeah, I'll shoot that. Like I know like grandma's important, right? Like
I ask the same thing. I'm like, I ask a question of like, you know, how is it like, essentially it says, how is it best to like, how can I best shoot you and your family in general? Do you know what I mean?
You.
Like, whenever I say shoot, I'm like, it sounds really bad, doesn't it? But you know, it is capture. I really should change the word in my brain from shoot to capture. But how can I capture your family best? How can I tell your story the best? You know, how can I make sure that you're getting the most out of me on day when it comes to telling the story and telling, you know, and including those people, you know, because they are a lot of special people that come to weddings who we don't always get to see, you know, week in and week out, who we wish we could see more, or, you know, who we do have a really special relationship with. And it might not be someone that's technically related to you. Maybe it's like, you know, maybe it's just a friend that you have a really good bond with and you want that captured. So I think when, like, I guess bringing it back to like, you know, we're 3 months out from the wedding or we're in the lead up to the wedding, these are all just things that you can start to think about. Don't be scared to like give us a lot of information when it comes to like our booking forms.
Be specific.
The more we want, the more we get, the better it is, I guess. Like, we want it all. And, you know, even if you do give us too much, we'll be like, this is amazing. Because at the end of the day, whenever someone puts effort into my booking form, I'm always like extra pumped for their wedding. And it's not that I'm not pumped for other people, but it just shows me that you're really like into it. You really care. Like, you're invested in what is happening on your day.
I say a funny story, right? So like one of the questions that I typically ask, like even like during like a initial consult or during the Your Story questionnaire when you book, is like, what are your favorite wedding films? And I can always tell when the guys like answer it, because then they either say, you know, like actually wedding films like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
they're like proper like Hollywood movie films, not like
films. Yeah, La La Land.
Yeah, classic. That's yeah. And I feel like that's really important, right? And some people go, I've even like, because when I've met up with couples in the past, and maybe like we don't always. Like for you might not have the time, or I might not have the time to meet the couple. But if we work like both working together, and you can make it, or I can make it. Like I've always asked in the past, I'm like, I know Tim, and you know, just start thinking about this. I know Tim would like in the future like to know what films you like, and they're always like, oh, well, what if it's not one of his? And that's the whole point, right? Like we're not expecting you to send one of Tim's films or you know anything like that. Like we want to know what you actually like, what you want to get out of your day, and it doesn't have to be something that we've done in the past.
Yeah. And there's a reason specifically I asked that, right? Because like you may not be able to like verbally tell me like the things or the exact things that you love about a film. But if I ask you to, you know, send me a couple of your favorite wedding films, like they don't have to be mine. And I specifically say that, like, I'm like, they do not have to be my films, but just send me some of your favorite films and even some of like the films that you don't like, just so like I can get a good like understanding of, you know, the things that you like, the things that you don't like. So I can really craft kind of like your story. And I know the things, you know, like, is it the coloring? Is it the editing, the style? Is it the story? Is it the audio? Is it the music? Like, is it the components? Is it like how chronological like the edit is? Is it like a little bit too kind of like jittery? And it's all these things that you're definitely not going to be able to tell me, but like by you showing me, I can dissect that.
Yeah. What's going to make your wedding film amazing? And that's, you know, you want to make it as amazing as possible. And everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different taste, which I love. And that's the best part about films, you know, and the best part about photography is everyone's style is different. So
3 months before your wedding, like these are things that we definitely want like nailed down. Like we definitely want to know, like all of these components. And that's like, there's a reason for it, because the next 3 months, we want you guys to relax, right? Like we want your wedding day to be, you know, not rushed, like planned well. So on the day, like you can relax and enjoy your wedding, you know, and if things do happen, that is why you have vendors to look after and save the day.
100%. And we've been speaking very much from like what me and Tim do and like from a photo and video perspective, but a lot of the questions you can still like spin them around so that they're for like your florist or they're for your celebrant, you know,
planner,
if
like, you have one.
Planner for anybody that's involved in your day, right? Like, so don't just think like, you know, the stuff we've been talking about. Yes, it's very photo, video focused, but that's what we do and that's what we're best at. But I would say like, you know, for like a florist, they're wanting to know, you know, like a little bit more about like the budget and the style and what they're working towards to create and the vision that you want, you know, wanting. I know that like, you know, celebrants would want to start thinking about writing your like ceremony and, you know, getting some information from you guys. Again, it's probably something very similar to like what we call a booking form. It's probably like a questionnaire that you would be answering for them. I think all of these things will start to really poke their head out around that 3 month mark, and you're probably going to get slammed a little bit with it. My personal advice, maybe my golden nugget, maybe it's my take home value.
Give it to me, baby. I love Matt's golden
nugget. The take home value for today, from my perspective of 3 months out, is like, don't just like procrastinate on this part of it. Hey, like get into it, start filling out questionnaires, start filling out as much info as possible, send it off, get it done, because the sooner you get that done, the more you can enjoy the wedding process, the wedding itself, you know. And my last tip that I'm going to throw in there as well, and I know Tim wants to say something around this, but I'm going to just quickly throw one little extra bit in, is there. If you get all this stuff done really quickly, or if you don't, regardless, take a day off on the lead up to your wedding. And when I mean take a day off, I mean take your partner out, go out for lunch, be a couple, enjoy yourselves, and have a day not talking about the wedding and the lead up to the wedding, no matter how busy it is and how much you have to do. Because if you do that, your day will be so much more enjoyable because you'll remember why you are here.
Completely agree. And if you do that, let us know and you can thank us later, because we have seen firsthand the stress and anxiety caused from like couples that have left this just too late and it gets a week out before the wedding, and if it gets to that stage and I call up a couple and like a week out, I'm like, hey, like I know like we haven't like met yet and not answering emails and the questionnaire is not done yet. We need to like get this done now. And they are stressing out hard and it has an effect on the wedding day itself. Right. You want to make sure that you are relaxed leading up to it.
And you want to be feeling organized.
Exactly. So look, we have seen firsthand like the anxiety and stress caused from planning that has potentially ruined the vibe like of a wedding day. It's definitely like caused some negative moods.
Yeah, 100%. It's just stressful. And like, I understand it and I fully feel the same. Like, I feel that for these couples. And that's why I guess this subject for us, we were like, we should talk about this because we talk a lot about the planning and about everything that happens to get to that day. But we never talk about like, what happens in the lead up to the day? What happens in the couple of months prior? How can you get there and be the best you have been mentally, probably the whole process? And I would like wholeheartedly say, like, if you can get on there,